Did I know that I was at risk of getting one stop by my teammate? They didn't tell me that, so
Who would have thought that the Belgian GP would bring so many twists and turns, huh? Mercedes, which seemed to be struggling in the early sessions, suddenly dominated the race with an epic 1-2 finish. But the most incredible part? The daring strategy that led George Russell to victory. We'll uncover Russell's masterstroke, analyze the crucial decision that might have cost Hamilton the win, and compare Mercedes' surprising performance with other top teams. Get ready for a comprehensive analysis that will make you see this race with new eyes. Let's understand how a team can go from rock bottom to the top of the podium in a single race weekend. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any details of the upcoming races. Let's go. Let's talk about George Russell's masterstroke at the Belgian GP. Just imagine, while everyone was doing 2 pit stops, Russell decided to risk it all with just 1 stop. That's right, 1 stop. Russell pitted on lap 10 of 44. From there, it was an epic battle between him and his tires. The young Brit had to manage those wheels like they were made of gold. Every corner, every straight was a challenge to keep those tires alive. And when it came down to the last laps, Russell had to use all his skill to hold the position. The tires were practically begging for mercy, but he didn't give in. It was a show of driving and strategy that left us all slack-jawed. But you know what makes this victory even more amazing? The fact that his teammate, none other than the 7-time champion Lewis Hamilton, was right behind him. And that brings us to the other side of the garage. While Russell was betting everything on 1 stop, the team decided to follow a more conservative strategy with Hamilton, 2 stops. But here's the plot twist. During the race, Hamilton suggested over the radio that maybe it would be better to adopt the 1-stop strategy, like Russell. The team, however, disagreed. And you know what happened? At the end of the race, Hamilton finished less than a second behind Russell. This raises a fascinating question. What if Mercedes had listened to Hamilton? Would we be talking about a victory for the 7-time champion today? It's the kind of decision that can keep any team principal up at night. Hamilton's frustration was evident after the race. He gave an interview and was asked, "Is there anything you would have done differently in hindsight from what was decided by the team?" And check out his response.
Would have made my own strategy.
You could see in his eyes that the second place felt like a loss. After all, when you're Lewis Hamilton, second place is rarely a reason to celebrate, especially when the defeat comes from a team mistake. But while Mercedes celebrated their unexpected 1-2, other teams were having their own battles. Let's take a look at the rest of the grid because this race was a real roller coaster of emotions for all the teams. Starting with Red Bull, which normally dominates the races, had a day, let's say, different. Max Verstappen, who started way back in 11th due to a penalty, had a recovery race and finished 5th. Not bad, but far from what we're used to seeing from the current world champion. McLaren, on the other hand, had reasons to smile. Oscar Piastri secured a podium finish. 3rd place for the Australian, and if the race had a few more laps, he might have fought for more, as he was just 1 second behind Russell, showing that McLaren is getting stronger this season. And Ferrari? Well, Charles Leclerc managed 4th place, which isn't terrible, but it's not exactly what the Italian team expected after starting from pole position. Comparing to Mercedes, it's clear that the German team took a quality leap this weekend. From struggling in the midfield during Friday practice to a 1-2 finish on Sunday, that's what we call a game changer. This race showed us that in F1, things can change in the blink of an eye. A strategic decision here, an exceptional performance there, and suddenly the whole grid is turned upside down. Now let's look to the future. This victory for Mercedes isn't just another trophy on the shelf, it's a game changer for the entire season. First, think about the confidence this brings to the team, with 3 wins in 6 consecutive podiums. After struggling so much at the start of the year, they proved they still know how to win, and convincingly. This could be the boost they needed to challenge Red Bull more consistently. For George Russell, this win could be the springboard to a streak of strong results. He showed maturity, skill, and courage, qualities of a future world champion. And Hamilton? Well, despite the frustration, this second place shows he's still at the top of his game. It wouldn't be surprising to see him come back strong in the next races, determined to prove he's still the number one in the team. But the big question is, has Mercedes finally found the magic formula to consistently challenge Red Bull? So, what do you think? Will Mercedes maintain this pace in the upcoming races, or was it just a flash of brilliance? Leave your opinion in the comments. Now, let's go back in time and understand how Mercedes got to this point. Let's take a trip back to Friday. Mercedes arrived at Spa with a package of updates that promised a lot. But what happened? A total disaster in free practice. The car was bouncing. Russell and Hamilton were struggling to keep the car on the track, finishing well down the timesheets. Everyone thought, well, there goes Mercedes' weekend. But the team did something bold. They decided to revert to the previous car setup for qualifying. It was a shot in the dark, but it hit the mark. Hamilton secured a great fourth place on the grid, which turned into third with Verstappen's penalty. And in the race? Well, you know the result. From struggling in the midfield on Friday to a 1-2 finish on Sunday. That, my friends, is what we call an epic comeback. This recovery shows how resilient and adaptable the Mercedes team can be. They didn't panic, they didn't give up. Instead, they stepped back, reevaluated, and came back stronger than ever. It's a reminder to all of us, in the world of F1, never say never. A team can go from zero to hero in a matter of days, and that's exactly why we love this sport so much. Now let's talk a little about what happened after the checkered flag fell, because this shows a lot about the character of our drivers and the spirit of Mercedes. Just imagine, Lewis Hamilton just lost a victory by less than a second to his teammate. Total frustration, right? But what he did surprised everyone. In the post-race interview, Hamilton said, "First, I have to congratulate George and the team. The car was nowhere on Friday. We made some changes. It was hard to see how it would go, but the car was fantastic today. And look how cool. Hamilton even praised the car updates, even though they weren't used in the race. He said that if they can keep this performance and start the weekends better, they can stay competitive. This shows that Mercedes is united and focused on improving. So folks, what a crazy race that was, huh? One day you're struggling to keep the car on track, the next you're on the top of the podium. Mercedes gave us a lesson in never giving up and always looking for solutions, even when everything seems lost. This race in Spa showed us that everything can change in the blink of an eye. A bold decision, like Russell's strategy, can be the difference between victory and defeat. And sometimes, listening to your intuition, like Hamilton wanted to, can be the right path. But what do you think? Will Mercedes keep this momentum in the upcoming races, or was it just a lucky day? Will Red Bull strike back? And don't forget about McLaren and Ferrari, who certainly won't just stand by and watch Mercedes steal the spotlight. If you enjoyed this analysis, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you don't miss any details of the upcoming races. The season is heating up and you don't want to miss out. And get ready because in the next GP, we'll see if this Mercedes victory was really a turning point or just a stroke of luck. It's going to be unmissable. See you next time, F1 fans.